Hey guys, how are you today? Quick rant before we dive into today's chaos. As some of you might have noticed, YouTube's algorithm has decided I'm not special anymore. Shocking, I know. So now if you don't like, comment, or do a little backflip in the algorithm's honor, this video might just vanish into the void, never to be seen again. Seriously though, even a hi or "this is wild" in the comments helps way more than you think. It tells YouTube, hey, people actually like this channel. Maybe don't hide it from everyone. That can really help push my videos out to a wider audience, not just to my subscribers. So if you enjoy these stories and want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Now grab a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the drama. You won't want to miss this one. So I, 35 male, was married to my wife, 34 female, for 7 years, but have been together for 10. We had a lot in common. We both loved traveling, cooking, and binge-watching shows, and even shared similar goals in life. The one place where we didn't quite see eye to eye was our beliefs. I've always been a science and logic guy. I like facts, and I've always made decisions based on reason. My wife was the same as me until 2020 hit, when we were stuck at home. She, like a lot of people, got really into astrology. It started with her scrolling through Instagram and TikTok for hours while we were stuck at home, and it just snowballed from there. At first it was harmless. She'd read me my horoscope, or tell me Mercury was in retrograde when things didn't go our way. It was whatever. I didn't really care as long as it made her happy. When the restrictions were lifted, the first thing she did wasn't catch up with friends or go back to work. Instead, it was finding a good astrologer. I was kind of surprised, but I didn't fight it. I loved my wife, and if astrology was giving her some comfort or clarity after a rough time, I was fine with that. I loved her, so I wanted to respect her beliefs, even though they seemed like complete nonsense to me. I figured, if this makes her happy, why not? She wasn't hurting anyone, right? I'm a reasonable guy, and everyone has their quirks, so I didn't want to be dismissive or controlling. But then it got extreme. She would spend hundreds of dollars on birth chart readings and on astrologically cleansing our home. She also started basing every little decision on what the stars told her. She'd consult the astrologer for everything, from what she should eat to whether we should book a vacation. She even started saying certain times of the day were unlucky for us to talk about serious topics, so we had to schedule our conversations. She'd tell me I couldn't make important decisions because my stars were misaligned. She'd even pick fights with me because our signs weren't in sync, or because a certain planet was in retrograde. At one point, she even wanted us to move, because apparently our house's energy wasn't in sync with her rising sign or something. Still, I tried to be understanding. I didn't agree with it at all, but I put up with everything because I genuinely loved her. I kept telling myself that relationships are about compromise. I figured it was just a weird obsession, and I didn't want to be the guy who told his wife what she could or couldn't believe in. I thought if I kept supporting her, she'd eventually see how unhinged she was becoming. Then came the day everything fell apart. She had me sit down in the living room, face to face. She told me she had something very important to tell me. She looked uncomfortable and like she was holding back tears, which immediately made my heart drop to my stomach. I could tell something was wrong, because she had been acting strange for days. I had tried asking her multiple times what was wrong, but she just brushed me off and continued to ignore me. Anyway, she started crying and told me that her astrologer had revealed something life-altering. According to the stars, I wasn't her real soulmate. Instead, my brother, 33 male, was her true soulmate. The astrologer had apparently done an extensive reading and found that their cosmic connection was stronger than ours. He also told her that our marriage was doomed from the start, which she agreed with because she was convinced that was the reason we had so many disagreements. Yeah, she thought I disagreed with her opinion about wearing red on a particular day because the stars said that our relationship was incompatible. I was honestly floored. I may be able to crack a joke about it right now, but that day I think I genuinely heard a nerve in my brain pop. At first, I thought it was some kind of joke or misunderstanding. But as I watched her sob hysterically, I realized that she was dead serious. She said that it was time for her to follow her true path with my brother. She was crying and telling me that it wasn't her choice, but that the stars had made it for her. She kept saying the universe wanted this. She also said things like, The stars don't lie, and this was meant to be. I tried to reason with her as much as I could. I told her that she was being absurd by letting some space rocks millions of light years away dictate her life, but she wouldn't listen to me. I then tried reminding her of the years we'd spent together and the life we'd built, but she was convinced that fate had spoken. I fought back as much as I could, but everything I said was met with something astrology-based. She said our marriage was a bad alignment, and that my astrological energy was too incompatible with hers. I couldn't believe it. She was throwing away everything we had because some astrologer told her my brother was her cosmic match. It made no sense. To make matters worse, my brother seemed totally okay with it. He didn't show any surprise or hesitation when she told him what the astrologer had said. In fact, he readily took her under his wings. That was when my gut told me something was really off. My brother and I never had the closest relationship, but for him to just be cool with my wife leaving me for him, it was beyond disgusting and suspicious. My family didn't make things easier either. They bought into the astrology nonsense too, and told me to accept fate and move on. They said if the astrologer was right, I couldn't stand in the way of what was meant to be. I felt completely alone. No one seemed to think it was as crazy as I did. The divorce process started shortly after that. I won't get into all the details, but it was brutal. We had to wait the mandatory 6 months for everything to be finalized, and during that time, I just had to watch my ex-wife and my brother act like they were some fated couple. It was humiliating. For the next year, I tried to move on. I went through therapy, cut off most contact with my family, and focused on work. It wasn't easy, but I was getting by. Then, about a year later, my ex-wife reached out to me completely out of the blue. I hadn't spoken to her since the divorce was finalized, and seeing her name pop up on my phone was a shock. She texted me and told me that she needed to talk to me urgently. She asked me if I was free to meet up within an hour, and honestly, I didn't want to go. I had free time to kill, but I didn't think seeing her was a wise decision, so I told her that. But she was so adamant about meeting me. She kept insisting that she needed to see me, because she had some important information to share with me. I asked her to just text it to me, but she said she'd rather do it in person. Curiosity got the better of me, so I decided to meet her. When I saw her, she was a wreck. She looked like she hadn't slept in days, and the first thing she did when she saw me was start crying. She told me she'd made a huge mistake and begged for my forgiveness. I was confused, and honestly didn't want to hear her out, because I was only there to listen to the important information she had. After she stopped profusely apologizing to me, she finally told me the big news. Apparently, she had recently overheard a conversation between my brother and someone else. She happened to hear my brother talking about how easy it was to win her. She waited until my brother left his phone to check who he was talking to, and she found out that he had been talking to her astrologer. She confronted him, and he spilled the truth. Turns out that my brother had paid the astrologer to convince her that they were soulmates. He knew how much she believed in astrology and exploited it to get her away from me. Apparently, my brother had always been jealous of me, my job, my friends, my life in general, and he wanted what I had. In his growing resentment against me, he'd also developed an obsession with my ex-wife for years and wanted her for himself. My ex-wife was devastated. She couldn't believe she had been manipulated like that, and honestly, neither could I. She also told me that my brother had turned into a completely different person after they got together. He'd apparently become controlling, mean, and even emotionally abusive. Now she's desperate to come back to me because she has realized how wrong she was. She told me that she never realized how good she had it with me until she left me for my scumbag brother. She told me that she felt humiliated that she had destroyed our marriage because of a lie. She also told me she had already left my brother after finding out the truth and that she wanted to make things right with me. She begged me to take her back because she believed that she'd been blinded by everything. But apparently, she still loved me. I don't even know where to begin. On one hand, I'm furious. I'm furious that she fell for this nonsense, and I'm furious that my brother manipulated the whole situation. But on the other hand, part of me still has feelings for her, even after everything. I can't lie, I've imagined what it would be like to have her back in my life. But how could I ever trust her again? I told her I needed time to think, but honestly, I don't know if I can ever forgive her. I don't even know if I want to. She made her choice, and now that the truth is out, I don't think I'll ever look at her the same way again. Am I an a-hole for not wanting to take my wife back after all of this? Not the a-hole. She didn't just make a mistake. She burned OP's life down, divorced OP, and then happily played fated soulmates with OP's brother for a year. Even without the scam, she chose to believe a stranger with a star chart over her own husband and a decade-long relationship. Now that the fantasy collapsed and OP's brother turned out to be controlling and abusive, suddenly she remembers what a good guy OP was. That's not love, that's regret and desperation. And now let's hear community's opinion. Not the a-hole, but your brother is actually villain level here. He weaponized something he knew she believed in to rip your marriage apart. That's not normal jealousy, that's calculated sabotage. Paying an astrologer to emotionally manipulate someone is next-level creepy. And your family telling you to accept fate instead of calling out how gross this was? Wild. They all let you be humiliated while your ex and brother cosplayed soulmates. You did the hard work, therapy, boundaries, rebuilding. Don't throw that away to comfort the two people who shattered your trust. I'll be honest, I have some sympathy for your ex, but that still doesn't make her a safe partner. She wanted to believe the soulmate story. The astrologer didn't put a gun to her head. She could have said, "That sounds insane, I'm married," and walked away. She didn't. She emotionally checked out, cheated in her heart, then physically left. Now she's crying and saying she was blinded. But what happens the next time life gets hard and something else gives her validation? A therapist, a friend, a TikTok guru, whatever. Are you supposed to gamble your sanity on her judgment again? You're not an a-hole for wanting a partner who chooses you, not just the person who's left standing after their fantasy implodes. Update 1. Wow, I didn't expect to get so many comments. I've been getting so much support and advice, and I just want to thank everyone who reached out. A lot of you have been telling me not to take my ex-wife back, and honestly, I'm leaning that way too. She made her choice, and even though it was all based on lies and manipulation, it's hard to forget how easily she threw our marriage away. A lot of people in the comments asked about my relationship with my brother, so I'll explain. Growing up, my brother and I were never close. He's always been jealous of me for some reason. If I got good grades, he would get upset. If I did well in sports, he'd complain. There were even times when he'd sabotage me in small ways, like hiding my school project the day it was due, or purposely trying to embarrass me in front of friends. My parents always said it was because he felt like he didn't measure up, and they would bend over backward to make him feel better. They'd spoil him with gifts or extra attention whenever he threw a fit, which just made things worse. My parents always had a soft spot for him. They'd make excuses for his behavior. They'd say things like he was sensitive and that he just needed more encouragement. But what they were really doing was enabling him. Every time he acted out of jealousy, they would shower him with attention instead of holding him accountable. I can't even count how many times they told me to be the bigger person and let things slide just so he wouldn't feel bad. Looking back, it's no surprise that he pulled this whole stunt with my ex-wife. He's always been competitive and jealous, so when he saw something I had that he wanted, he just took it. And instead of facing the consequences, he manipulated everyone around him, including my ex-wife, into thinking it was all destiny or whatever. It's actually sick. I also wanted to clear up something about astrology. I don't think astrology is complete nonsense. I mean, it can be fun, right? I've read horoscopes before, but I never took it seriously. For me, it's just entertainment and not necessarily something that should control your life. The problem was never that my ex-wife liked astrology. I was fine with that. The problem started when she let it dictate her decisions, like leaving me for my brother because of some cosmic connection. That's when it became an issue for me. Since my ex-wife came clean about the whole thing, I've been in a weird place. On one hand, I'm relieved that there wasn't some mystical reason why my marriage fell apart. It was just my brother being the manipulative person he's always been. But on the other hand, I'm still hurt and angry. I can't believe I lost everything because of this. My ex-wife hasn't given up on trying to get me back either. She somehow found my new address, don't even know how, and has been sending me flowers and gifts nonstop. It's awkward and honestly just makes me feel uncomfortable. Every time I see a new delivery, It just brings up all the old emotions again. I don't know what she expects. Does she honestly think that flowers are going to magically fix everything? As for the biggest update I have right now, my brother tried to contact me. Keep in mind, this man has not called me in over a year, and he had the audacity to call me only after he manipulated my ex-wife into leaving. Throughout the conversation, he acted like none of this was his fault. He said that my ex-wife was lying, and that there was a big misunderstanding about the astrologer. He claimed he never paid anyone off, and that the astrologer really did believe that they were soulmates. Yeah, right. I didn't believe a word he said. I've known my brother my whole life, and I know when he's lying. He's always been good at twisting things around to make himself look innocent. This was not any different. He kept trying to justify what he did by saying that it wasn't his fault, that the universe wanted him to be with her. He even had the nerve to say that if I was a better husband, maybe she wouldn't have turned to astrology in the first place. That was when I had enough. After that call, I completely cut him off. I blocked his number and made sure he couldn't reach me anymore. I'm done with him. It's hard enough dealing with my ex-wife trying to win me back, but I don't need my brother in my life making things worse. Cutting him off felt like the right thing to do, but it still hurts that it had to come to this. He's my brother, but after everything, I just can't forgive him. For now, I'm trying to focus on myself. I'm trying to take things one day at a time, and I know I deserve better than what either of them put me through. I'll keep you all updated if anything else happens. But for now, I'm just trying to move forward and keep my distance from the drama. Update 2. Hey everyone, I didn't expect to be back with another update so soon, but a lot has happened, and I felt like I needed to share. After my last post, where I mentioned cutting off contact with my brother, I couldn't stop thinking about what he said. His whole "it was a misunderstanding" speech got to me, and even though I didn't believe him, I started feeling this itch that I needed to know the truth for myself. Plus, my ex-wife was still dead set on the idea that the astrologer was in on it, and honestly, it was driving me nuts not having any real confirmation. So I decided to track down the astrologer. I figured that if there was any chance to get real answers, it had to come from the source. It took me a while, but I eventually found out where he was working. I went there, and let me tell you, I wasn't playing nice. I needed the truth, no matter what. When I first confronted him, he tried to act like he didn't know what I was talking about. He gave me vague responses about following the stars and cosmic connections, but I wasn't backing down. I pushed harder and told him I knew my brother had something to do with it. Eventually, after a lot of pressure, he finally cracked. He admitted that yes, my brother had paid him to tell my ex-wife that they were soulmates. He said my brother had offered him a good amount of money to make it convincing, and since my ex-wife was already super into astrology, he knew she'd believe it without question. I asked him if my brother approached him and offered him money, or if he threatened the astrologer. I needed to know to what exact lengths my brother went to ruin my life. The astrologer told me that my brother simply offered him the money. There were no threats involved. He tried to justify his taking the bribe by saying that he was financially struggling and had a family to feed. And while I empathize with that, I don't think scamming people and ruining their lives is a good way to earn money. But still, hearing that was both satisfying and infuriating at the same time. On the one hand, it felt good to finally have concrete proof that my brother was behind everything. But on the other hand, it just made my anger explode all over again. I couldn't believe the lengths my brother went to just to ruin my marriage and get what he wanted. It wasn't some cosmic connection. It was manipulation, plain and simple. And then things got even crazier. Apparently, the astrologer got spooked after I confronted him, so he decided to start running his mouth to other people. He told them all about what my brother had done to steal his sister-in-law from his brother, me. He started blabbing to clients, friends, and anyone who would listen about how my brother had basically hired him to scam my ex-wife. He started telling them that my brother threatened him to scam my ex-wife and that he was given a good amount of money, which was essentially hush money. As far as I was concerned, those were lies. I mean, the guy didn't seem very smart, so the fact that he used the "I got threatened" line after I asked him if that was the case told me that he was lying. Still, I guess he did that to save his own skin, and I only found out why a few days later. It turns out that my ex-wife was so angry about being tricked that she went on a rampage and started posting reviews on every website and social media platform she could find. She essentially exposed the astrologer for being a fraud and someone who was easily bribed. And once the astrologer caught wind of it, he turned around and tried to shift all the blame onto my brother by telling anyone who'd listen that he was only following orders. He was saving his own skin and throwing my brother to the wolves. The story started spreading like wildfire. I first heard about it through a friend who saw a post that had a picture of my wife's review in a local community Facebook group. People were talking about how shady the astrologer was. Initially, they talked about how they always knew he was a scam, but eventually the conversation shifted to my brother. The few people that the astrologer spoke to came into these groups and essentially told everybody about my brother's involvement in the astrologer's scheme. It didn't take long for word to get around. Soon, more people were talking about how my brother had used this whole astrology scam to steal my wife, and things just spiraled from there. The aftermath has been massive. My brother's reputation is in shambles. People in our social circles are distancing themselves from him, and he's losing friends left and right. Even business contacts are starting to cut ties with him, because no one wants to be associated with someone who'd pull such a dirty move. His whole image is crumbling, and honestly, I can't say I feel bad about it. He's finally facing the consequences of his actions. And while I never expected things to blow up this way, it feels like justice in a weird way. That being said, I'm still left dealing with the mess he created. My ex-wife is still begging for forgiveness. And now that the truth is fully out there, she's even more desperate. She says she was manipulated, and while I get that to some extent, it's hard to look past the fact that she believed in this ridiculous soulmate story and left me for my brother without a second thought. I don't know what to do about her. Part of me understands that she was lied to, but another part of me feels like I can never trust her again, no matter how sorry she is. Emotionally, I'm still all over the place. I'm glad the truth came out, but it doesn't erase everything that happened. I've spent so long feeling betrayed by the people closest to me, and while my brother is finally getting what he deserves, I'm still trying to figure out where to go from here. I feel relieved, but also kind of hollow. It's like, yeah, the truth is out, but now what? My marriage is still over. My relationship with my brother is beyond repair, and I'm left picking up the pieces. If anything new comes up, I'll let you guys know. Update 3. Hey everyone, it's been about 5 months since my last update, and a lot has changed. I figured I'd give a final update since things have mostly settled, and honestly, things have been getting a lot better for me. First off, my brother's situation. After his reputation took a major hit from all the fallout, things didn't improve for him. In fact, they got worse. Pretty much everyone cut him off, including his friends, business connections, and even some family members. His whole image as a successful guy has been completely destroyed. He's struggling to keep his business going, and I've heard he's lost a bunch of clients because people just don't trust him anymore. I thought that after everything he did to me, I wouldn't care, but I do feel a little sorry for him. It's not like I wanted his entire life to collapse, but at the same time, he made his choices, and now he's facing the consequences. Thankfully, he hasn't made any more attempts to reach out to me. But even though he didn't reach out to me, my parents did, on his behalf. After everything that happened, my parents got in touch with me. They had supported my brother throughout all the drama and believed in the astrologer's nonsense just like my ex-wife did. But once the truth came out, they started to see how wrong they were. They called me and told me that they were sorry for not being there for me enough when my ex-wife left me. They apologized for not actually seeing what was going on and for not holding my brother responsible for his actions. I was honestly surprised that they had taken the time to call me and apologize, so I listened to them. The first part of the conversation went great. I opened up to them and told them how they'd hurt me while growing up by never reprimanding my brother. They apologized a lot, and they sounded so sincere that I was genuinely beginning to think that not all hope was lost for me. That was until, at some point, my mom started talking about how sad it was that my brother had lost everything. I tried to keep my cool, but played along with her conversation. That was a mistake. The conversation quickly turned into them asking if I could help my brother in some way, because they thought that he didn't deserve to lose everything. They told me that they understood my pain, but that I should not be okay with seeing my brother struggle so much. They wanted me to help my brother by making my own public statement that said that every rumor was exaggerated and that nothing of that sort had actually happened. I think that made me finally lose it. Everything that I had kept tucked away neatly in the corner of my mind erupted. I mean, I understand that they're his parents too, but it felt like they were still making excuses for him. I told them that I wasn't going to intervene to save him. I wasn't responsible for his problems, and he needed to face the consequences of his own actions. When I said no, my parents got really angry. They said I was being mean and not forgiving, and that's when I realized I couldn't keep talking about it. They were still only seeing my brother as the one who got hurt, instead of seeing that he was the reason for his own mess. After that, I decided to talk to them less and just distance myself from them. I needed to take care of my own mental health, and being around people who didn't want to see the truth wasn't good for me. I don't hate my parents, but they need to accept that my brother isn't who they think he is. Since then, I've actually made a big decision. I moved to a different state. Part of me just needed a fresh start, and I realized that being around my family and the lingering drama wasn't going to give me that. I found a job opportunity that fit what I was looking for, and so far it's been great. As for my ex-wife, well, she made one last push to get me back a few weeks after my last update. She sent me this long text about how she had completely cut astrology out of her life and how she was committed to being a better person. She admitted she was fooled, and while I appreciate that she's owning up to her mistakes, I just couldn't go back. Don't get me wrong, it was very tempting at first. We had been together for years, and there was definitely a part of me that missed the comfort of our relationship. I did love her deeply, and I also felt bad for her. She was tricked and used, and I know she's hurting too. But as I sat with those feelings, I started to realize that I didn't actually miss her as much as I missed being in a relationship. I missed the routine, the companionship, and the familiarity. But her? I wasn't sure I could ever trust her again. Even if astrology was no longer part of her life, the damage was just too deep. No matter how much she apologized, she made a choice to leave me for my brother, based on a ridiculous, manipulated belief, and that's not something I can overlook. I've also started dating again. It's still early, but I met someone who is very grounded and values trust and communication. We're taking things slow, and I'm not rushing into anything, but it feels good to be with someone who I can actually build something real with. There's no drama and no crazy games. It's just two people getting to know each other and enjoying each other's company. It's been refreshing, to say the least. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks again to everyone that has helped me through this journey. I hope you all know that I've read almost every single comment and taken every advice given to heart. I hope you're just as satisfied with where my life landed as I am.